To mark the day, the launch of a new UN Women report measuring the shadow pandemic, violence against women during COVID-19, that surveyed 13 countries, finding that 1 in 2 women reported that they or a woman they know experienced violence during the COVID-19 pandemic, something the UN chief called the most pervasive and pressing human rights issue in the world today.
The latest figures from UN Women confirm that during the COVID-19 pandemic, levels of violence against women and girls have increased. Across 13 countries, almost half of all women reported that they or a woman they know began to experience gender-based violence during the pandemic. Almost a quarter of women reported that household conflicts had become more frequent. A similar proportion said they felt less safe at home. Violence in any part of society affects us all, from the scars on the next generation to the weakening of the social fabric.
Findings issued recently by the UN Committee on the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women, a body of independent experts that monitors implementation of the convention by the same name, referred to systemic failures to address gender-based violence in South Africa, including failure to implement legislation and policies to address the epidemic. It flagged the lack of regular training for judges, prosecutors and police officers, and a failure of the SAPS to systematically investigate, prosecute, and adequately punish negligence and mishandling of cases by SAPS officers. CEDAW also called for Parliament to expeditiously adopt legislation that specifically criminalises domestic violence and femicide, and urged the finalisation of the Domestic Violence Amendment Bill, the Criminal and Related Matters Bill, and an amendment to the Criminal Law, Sexual Offences and Related Matters Amendment Act.
Violence against women is not inevitable. The right policies and programs bring results. That means comprehensive, long-term strategies that tackle the root causes of violence, protect the rights of women and girls, and promote strong and autonomous women's rights movements.
The newly installed Executive Director of UN Women emphasised that all human life benefits when women's rights are upheld.
In countries, both rich and poor, gender prejudice has fueled acts of violence toward women and girls. Violence against women often goes unreported, silenced by stigma, shame, or fear of the perpetrators, and fear of a justice system that does not work for women. The COVID-19 pandemic, with all its isolation and distancing, has enabled unseen violence, a second shadow pandemic against women and girls, where they often found themselves in lockdown with their abusers. In all corners of the world, helplines for violence against women saw an increase in reports.
The UN's campaign, Unite by 2030 to End Violence Against Women, calls on a cross-section of society to join forces in eliminating GBV. Sherman Bryceby's SABC News, New York.